But some stories never end. In the kingdom of Shikala, power was never just about kings, queens, or crowns. It was about one object, ancient, unyielding, and dangerous. The medallion. Its glow lit the halls of kings. Its weight tested the hearts of queens. And its shadow stretched across generations. We saw it in the hands of Aduba, the warrior who rose from boy to king. We saw it in Queen Nia, whose strength carved a place in legend. And we saw it in Prince Ilanga, who learned that destiny is not always kind. The saga of Aduba showed us courage, betrayal, and sacrifice. But it also left us with a question. What is the true story of the medallion? Because this relic is older than Shikala's throne, older than the wars fought for it, older even than the bloodline that protects it. It has passed through forgotten lands, cursed hands, and hidden battles that history never told. Everywhere it has gone, it has left only two things behind: power and ruin. And now a new chapter opens, a journey beyond the Aduba saga, a tale that digs deeper into the roots of the medallion itself, where it came from, who sought it first, and how its curse continues to shape kingdoms yet to rise. This is not just the story of Shikala, it is the story of the medallion, a story that binds past, present, and future, a story that does not belong to one king or one queen, but to all who dare to chase its power. The Aduba saga was only the beginning. The legend continues, and the medallion has not finished speaking. Welcome to Novellas 360, where every story is alive. In the land of Shikala, a royal decree echoes across the kingdom. 5 impossible tests, 1 legendary prize. Warriors have fallen, princes have fled, and hope seems lost. But from the humblest of villages, a farmer's son dares to stand where giants have fallen. With nothing but courage, wit, and an heirloom that holds a forgotten secret, he steps into destiny's fire. Can he defeat the raging lion? Outsmart the king's warriors? Solve a riddle only a mother's love could answer? The legend has begun, and the full story is already waiting for you. Open this page now to watch, step into the world of Shikala, and witness the epic journey, only on Novellas 360.
In the ancient land of Shikala, where the sun painted golden hues upon vast savannas and mighty rivers whispered the tales of old, there lived a princess whose heart was as fierce as it was kind. Her name was Princess Kulala, and her father, the great king of Shikala, longed to find a husband worthy of her hand. But not just any man could marry a princess, only one who could prove his strength, wisdom, and heart. One day, the king sat upon his throne, surrounded by nobles and advisors. His voice was heavy with thought as he addressed the court. "My beloved wife is gone, and my daughter stands at the threshold of womanhood. But who among the men of Shikala is worthy to take her hand?" He paused, then rose, his staff held high. "I declare 5 tests. Any man who dares to win my daughter must pass them all. Only then shall he be called worthy." The drums of Shikala echoed far and wide as the king's decree spread across the land. Suitors arrived from distant kingdoms, eager to prove themselves. But none could withstand the trials ahead. Some fled in terror at the sight of the raging lion. Others were overwhelmed by the soldiers, and many fell before the giant warrior. In a quiet village far from the palace, a young man named Aduba worked tirelessly on his father's farm. He was strong and determined, with kind eyes and a heart that burned with ambition. One afternoon, as he gathered firewood, he overheard the villagers talking about the failed suitors. "Did you hear? Another suitor was defeated by the giant. None can pass the king's tests," one man said. Another laughed. "Only a fool would try now." That night, as Aduba rested from his day's labor, something strange happened. In a dreamlike vision, he saw his grandmother standing before him. Her eyes glowed with wisdom as she spoke, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Aduba, my child, greatness is coming your way. Destiny calls you, and your path will not be easy. But you must trust in your strength, your mind, and the heirloom I placed around your neck when you were born." As she spoke, the small necklace around his neck began to glow with a soft, golden light. Aduba gasped, staring at it in wonder. When he awoke, the vision remained clear in his mind. What did it mean? Why did his grandmother say greatness was coming his way? His heart raced with questions, but no answers came. The next morning, as he walked through the village, he heard the men discussing the opportunity to marry the princess. His heart pounded. Could this be the destiny his grandmother spoke of? But how could a simple farmer like him hope to defeat lions, soldiers, and giants? As he pondered his chances, the necklace around his neck glowed again. A strange calmness filled him, and in that moment, he knew he had to try. No matter the obstacles, he would not turn back. Determined, he set out for the palace. The first test awaited him deep within the jungle. A raging lion whose roars shook the trees. Armed with nothing but a spear and unwavering courage, Aduba stepped into the beast's lair. The battle was fierce. The lion lunged, claws tearing through the air, but Aduba dodged with swift precision. He struck with his spear, using every ounce of strength and strategy. At last, the mighty beast fell, but not without leaving wounds upon his skin. Bloodied but unbroken, Aduba emerged victorious. His next challenge lay within the great arena of Shikala, where 100 fierce soldiers stood in formation, waiting. Their general sneered as he stepped forward. "You're just a farmer's boy. Run home before we break you." But Aduba stood his ground. A man's strength is not in his birth, but in his will. The battle began. The soldiers attacked in waves, their strikes swift and merciless. But Aduba was faster. He weaved between them, using wit and agility rather than brute force. As the sun dipped below the horizon, only one man remained standing, Aduba. Though exhausted, his spirit was unshaken. The third test awaited him in the heart of the kingdom, a towering giant with eyes like burning coals. The crowd whispered in awe as Aduba stepped forward, but he had a secret. As the fight began, the necklace glowed faintly, filling him with bursts of strength and clarity. The giant's blows were like thunder, each one enough to crush an ordinary man. But Aduba fought with the power of generations before him. After a brutal struggle, the giant fell, and Aduba, breathing heavily, stood victorious. The fourth test was a challenge of wisdom. Inside the palace, the king presented him with a riddle, written by the late queen herself. "I am not alive, yet I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. I have no mouth, but water kills me. What am I?" Aduba stared at the riddle, his heart pounding. He had fought with his hands, but now his mind was the battleground. Days passed, and frustration grew. Then, by the quiet banks of a river, he met an old man who sat watching the flames of a small fire dance in the breeze. The old man smiled. Sometimes, the answers we seek are hidden within simplicity. Think, young warrior, what thrives without life? Aduba's eyes widened with understanding. Fire. The answer is fire. When he returned to the palace and spoke the answer, a hush fell over the crowd. Then, murmurs of amazement spread through the hall. The final test was the most mysterious of all. The king's gaze was sharp as he spoke. "One last test remains. Tell me the name my late queen gave our daughter. The name only a mother's heart would know." Aduba's heart sank. How could he possibly know such a thing? He left, wandering for days, nearly giving up. But just as despair crept in, the old man appeared once more and whispered, "Her name is Nia, meaning purpose." Aduba returned to the palace, stood before the king, and spoke. "Her name is Nia, the purpose of Shikala's heart." Silence. Then the king's eyes filled with emotion, and the hall erupted with cheers. Aduba had proven himself not only strong and wise, but worthy. That night, the kingdom of Shikala was alive with celebration. Drums thundered, dancers twirled, and the air was filled with joy. Aduba stood beside Princess Nia, their hands clasped, their eyes bright with a future yet to come. The story of Aduba teaches us that true greatness is not determined by birth, but by bravery, wisdom, and perseverance. A simple farmer's son became a legend because he dared to face the impossible. Bravery is not the absence of fear, but the will to push forward despite it. Challenges may seem insurmountable, but those who believe in themselves and refuse to give up will always find a way. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe to Novellas 360 for more. Many exciting and inspiring stories will be rolling out soon, so stay tuned. Aduba, the King and the Trials. The kingdom of Shikala rejoiced. Drums echoed through the land, and laughter filled the air as Aduba, the farmer's son turned warrior, sat beside Princess Nia, his wife and queen. The people danced, feasted, and sang songs of his triumph. It seemed that peace had finally come. But in the depths of the night, beneath the shadows of the grand palace, a sinister plan was already in motion. The great king of Shikala, Nia's father, slept soundly in his chambers. The moon cast a silver glow over his peaceful face, until darkness took him. An unseen hand, swift and merciless, wrapped around his throat. No screams were heard, no struggle lasted long. Within moments, the king was dead. Outside, a palace guard patrolling the corridors happened to witness a shadow fleeing from the chamber. His eyes widened in horror. He turned to raise the alarm, but before he could utter a word, a dagger pierced his heart. He fell lifeless to the cold stone floor. At dawn, the palace awoke to wails of sorrow. The king was gone. The kingdom mourned, but the coronation had to continue. And so, amidst grief and uncertainty, Aduba was crowned the new king of Shikala. Days turned into weeks, and in that time, Queen Nia shared joyful news. She was with child. The people of Shikala celebrated once more, for an heir would soon be born. But among the well-wishers was a man whose heart was filled not with joy, but with jealousy. Tafari, the late king's right-hand man, had spent years dreaming of the throne. He had advised the king, stood beside him in war, yet now a farmer's son wore the crown. And worse, a child was coming to solidify Aduba's rule. On one peaceful night, Queen Nia vanished. When Aduba discovered her disappearance, his fury shook the palace. "Find her!" he commanded. But then, a whisper spread through the court, one that made his blood run cold. The law of Shikala states that if a king does not sit upon the throne for 3 days, he must forfeit it. A trap had been set. If Aduba left to find Nia, he would lose his kingdom. If he stayed, he would lose his wife and unborn child. He made his choice without hesitation. "I will bring her back," Aduba declared, "and I will return before the sun sets on the 3rd day." The kidnappers had taken Queen Nia deep into the wilderness, beyond the cursed lands where few dared to tread. To reach her, Aduba had to face 4 impossible trials. Aduba arrived at a river that seemed to flow with darkness instead of water. A voice whispered from its depths, "Step forward, and you shall drown in eternal night." He hesitated until his glowing necklace pulsed against his chest. He remembered his grandmother's words, "Trust in the heirloom." He held the necklace before him, and as its golden light touched the water, a hidden path of stones was revealed beneath the surface. He crossed safely, leaving the whispering darkness behind. A labyrinth stretched before him, guarded by monstrous serpents. Their golden eyes gleamed as they slithered, waiting for him to make a wrong move. With each turn, Aduba listened, not with his ears, but with his heart. The whispers of his ancestors guided him, and he moved swiftly through the maze, escaping the deadly fangs that lurked in the shadows. Beyond the maze, ghostly warriors emerged from the mist, weapons raised. They did not speak, only attacked. Aduba fought bravely, but for every warrior he struck down, another took its place. He realized this was a trial of endurance. He could not win through battle. He had to outlast them. So he stood, unyielding, as the phantom struck at him again and again. With each blow, he gritted his teeth and endured, until at last, the spirits faded into nothingness. The final challenge before reaching Nia was the deadliest. A towering mountain spewed flames, its peak unreachable. But he had no choice. He climbed. Fire lashed at his skin. Smoke choked his lungs. With every step, he felt his strength fading. And then, the flames consumed him. He collapsed. Darkness took him. But in that darkness, he heard a voice. Soft, familiar, full of love. Aduba. Nia. Her voice called him back from the brink. His eyes opened, and he gasped as the flames receded. The mountain had tested his will to live, and love had pulled him through. At the mountain's peak, a figure awaited him. His grandmother. But she was not as he remembered. She stood in a ghostly form, her presence both familiar and otherworldly. She smiled, eyes twinkling with knowing. "You have done well, my child." Aduba dropped to his knees. "Tell me, grandmother, who took Nia? Who killed the king?" Her expression darkened. "The man you trust most, Tafari. He sent men to steal the queen and take your throne, and it was he who strangled the king in his sleep." Aduba's heart pounded with rage. "Where is Nia?" His grandmother pointed. "Beyond the flames. Go and finish what was started." With renewed strength, Aduba raced forward. He found Nia bound but unharmed. When the men guarding Nia saw Aduba, they fled. The moment she saw him, tears filled her eyes. "You came." He cut her bonds. "Always." They returned to Shikala just in time. Tafari stood before the throne, waiting to be crowned king. The people watched in uncertainty until gasps filled the air. Aduba had returned, and he was furious. With a single throw, his spear flew across the hall, striking Tafari in the side. The old man crumpled, clutching his wound. Blood seeped between his fingers. "The king was murdered," Aduba declared, "and this man is the culprit." Tafari, wounded but alive, coughed as the weight of his actions bore down on him. With the eyes of the kingdom upon him, he confessed everything: the treachery, the greed, the murder of the king. As punishment, Tafari was banished from Shikala, never to return again. His name would be spoken only as a warning, a tale of betrayal and downfall. The kingdom was shaken, but justice had been served. Aduba took his rightful place as king, and by his side, Queen Nia flourished. Months later, their child was born, a prince, strong and healthy. The people cheered, knowing that Shikala's future was secure. And thus, the legend of King Aduba lived on, a tale of courage, love, and destiny fulfilled. King Aduba's story teaches that true love requires sacrifice, as he risked everything to save Nia. His perseverance through impossible trials shows that those who never give up will always find a way. Wisdom and guidance can lead us through challenges, just as Aduba trusted his ancestors' knowledge. Justice prevails in the end. Tafari's betrayal was exposed, proving that truth always comes to light. Most importantly, true leadership is earned through courage and integrity. Now, we would love to hear from you. What lesson did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Novellas 360 so you never miss a new story. Aduba, The Ordeals of a Young Prince. 6 years had passed since the fall of Tafari and the restoration of peace in Shikala. King Aduba and Queen Nia ruled with wisdom and strength, and their son, Prince Ilanga, grew up in the warmth of their love. But despite Aduba's triumphs, whispers still crept through the kingdom. Doubts about his worthiness, about whether a farmer's son truly deserved the throne. These murmurs reached the ears of his mother, who carried the burden in silence, her heart heavy with worry. On Ilanga's 6th birthday, King Aduba summoned him to the royal chambers. Sitting upon a carved wooden throne was an object wrapped in deep blue cloth. With steady hands, Aduba unwrapped it, revealing an ancient heirloom, a golden medallion with symbols older than the kingdom itself. "This belonged to your great-grandmother," Aduba said, his voice firm but gentle. "She once told me that when the time came, this would guide the next true ruler of Shikala." The young prince took the heirloom, staring in awe as the golden surface shimmered under the torchlight. It felt warm in his small hands, as if alive. He didn't yet understand its significance, but he nodded, vowing to treasure it. 4 years later, the kingdom erupted in celebration. The Festival of Ancestors had arrived, a time when the people of Shikala honored those who came before them. The village square bustled with music, dancing, and feasts. Children ran through the streets, their laughter ringing through the air. Among them was Prince Ilanga, his curious spirit leading him beyond the crowds. He spotted a vibrant butterfly, its wings flashing like embers in the sunlight. Entranced, he followed it, weaving through the trees at the village's edge, his small feet barely making a sound against the earth. But the butterfly led him farther than he realized. The joyous sounds of the festival faded behind him, replaced by an eerie stillness. The trees thickened, their twisted branches reaching out like clawed hands. Cold wind whispered through the air. The prince had unknowingly wandered into the one place no child or man dared to enter: the evil forest. The same cursed land that had once tested his father now loomed around him. Panic surged in Ilanga's chest as he turned to run, but the path behind him had vanished. Then came the voices. Low, guttural whispers slithered through the air, unseen but everywhere. Figures flickered in the mist, their hollow eyes watching. A deep chuckle echoed through the trees. "A child of the throne dares step into our domain?" The ground beneath him trembled. Shadows shifted, forming into monstrous shapes. Prince Ilanga clenched the heirloom in his palm, his heart pounding. He remembered his father's stories, the ordeals he had faced. He was just a boy, But he was a prince of Shikala. He would not cower. From the darkness, spectral hands reached for him, their cold touch threatening to drain the life from his body. Ilanga closed his eyes and clutched the medallion, feeling its warmth spread through him. When he opened them, the ghosts recoiled, hissing as golden light erupted from his hand. The spirits faded, their whispers turning to wails before silence returned. Now a path appeared before him, splitting into three. From each path, a voice called out, his mother, his father, his grandmother. "Come this way, Ilanga." "No, my son, it is this way." "Follow me, child. I will take you home." Fear crept into his heart, but then he heard a softer voice, one not coming from the paths, but from within him. It was familiar, soothing. "Do not follow the voices, follow the light." His great-grandmother. He looked down at the heirloom, and as he focused, a faint glow pointed toward the true path. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The false voices screamed and vanished into the darkness behind him. A great beast with eyes like burning coals and a body as large as an elephant stood blocking his path. Its growl rumbled like thunder, shaking the very earth beneath the young prince's feet. Ilanga's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, only the heirloom hanging from his neck. He turned, ready to flee, but then a voice echoed through the wind, ancient and powerful. The blood of the king over all. Something inside him shifted. The fear that had gripped him melted away. He was not just a child lost in the forest. He was a prince of Shikala, the heir to a legacy of warriors and rulers. He stopped running. Turning back to face the beast, he took a deep breath, clenched his fists, and stepped forward. "I am the son of Aduba, king of Shikala. The blood of the king commands you. Kneel before me." His voice, though young, carried the weight of kings before him. It rang through the trees like a war drum. The beast let out a guttural snarl, its eyes narrowing. For a moment, the prince thought it would pounce, but then something incredible happened. The fire in the beast's eyes dimmed, its massive head lowered. With a deep, shuddering breath, it bowed. The forest fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the shadows, his great-grandmother emerged once more, her ethereal form shimmering like mist. She smiled. "You have done well, my child. You have proven yourself worthy, not just of the heirloom, but of your birthright." The prince looked at her, breathless. "What now?" Her gaze shifted to the beast. "Take it home." His eyes widened. "Home? To the festival?" She nodded. "Let them see who you truly are. Let them know a king's blood runs through your veins." The prince hesitated only for a moment before stepping toward the beast. Slowly, he placed a hand on its mighty head. To his amazement, it did not resist. Instead, it lowered itself further, as if inviting him onto its back. With a determined breath, the prince climbed onto the beast. It rose beneath him, its powerful muscles shifting as it stood tall. Then, with a single mighty leap, the beast bounded forward, carrying the prince out of the cursed forest and back toward the village. The festival was still in full swing. The people of Shikala laughed, sang, and danced, until a shadow loomed over them. Gasps filled the air as the crowd turned. Riding through the village square was the young prince, seated atop the great beast. Its glowing eyes scanned the astonished faces, but it did not harm a soul. It only obeyed the boy who had tamed it. Aduba and Nia, standing at the center of the festival, watched in shock as their son rode toward them. The king's heart swelled with pride, and his mother's eyes filled with tears. A hush fell over the crowd. Then someone knelt. Another followed. and then another, until the entire village was on their knees, heads bowed in reverence. One elder whispered, "A true king's son." Another murmured, "The blood of the king over all." Then, stepping forward with a staff in hand, the wise one, an old and respected man of Shikala, raised his voice. "The boy has done what no man has dared. He has tamed the beast not by force, but by the blood that runs through his veins. This is no ordinary child. This is destiny." Murmurs spread through the crowd as the wise one continued. "Aduba's blood is that of kings. His grandmother was once a princess of another land, a kingdom that thrived until war came upon them. The invaders sought a treasure, a medallion of great power given to the princess by her father, the king, before he breathed his last. As the kingdom fell and her sister perished, she fled, carrying the medallion and the legacy of her people with her. In her new land, she found love in a humble farmer, choosing a life of peace over power. From that union came the lineage that led to Aduba, and now to this boy. It is through that medallion, through the unbroken line of royal blood, that the prince was able to command the beast." The revelation sent a ripple through the gathering. The whispers of doubt that had once surrounded Aduba's rule faded like mist. At that moment, there was no doubt left in anyone's heart. This boy was destined for greatness. The prince smiled as he looked around at his people. Then, for the first time since he wandered into the forest, he laughed. The festival resumed, but this time, the celebration was not just for the season. It was for the young prince who had proved his worth. And thus, another legend of Shikala was born. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video. Share your favorite moment in the comments, a lesson you learned, and whether you think Ilanga is truly worthy of being the Prince of Shikala. Make sure to subscribe to Novellas 360 so you don't miss the next part, dropping soon. See you in the next one.
Years had passed, and the young prince Ilanga had grown into a man of honor, strong, wise, and admired throughout the land of Shikala. The people spoke of his courage, his kindness, and the fire of royalty that burned in his blood. Now, it was time for him to choose a bride. To mark the moment, King Aduba declared a royal ceremony, the Dance of the Maidens, inviting daughters of noble blood and humble homes from every tribe in Shikala. The palace grounds shimmered that evening, lit by torches and decorated with colors from every corner of the kingdom. One by one, the maidens danced, each with grace, pride, and beauty. But then she appeared, Naila, a vision of mystery and beauty, dressed in deep crimson silk, her eyes like midnight fire. She moved like the wind, calm, graceful, but impossible to catch. The moment Ilanga laid eyes on her, the world faded, and when the time came to choose, he stepped forward without hesitation. "Her," he said, "she is the one." The people cheered, but not everyone smiled. Queen Nia watched silently from her throne. Something unexplainable stirred, not jealousy, not dislike, but unease. She could not explain it, nor could she prove it. Yet she whispered to Aduba, "There is a shadow behind that smile." But her husband said nothing, and her son was already in love. What none of them knew was this: Naila came not from the hills of Shikala, but from the Ashkaran wastes, a cursed land beyond the border. The same land whose warriors once destroyed the village of Aduba's grandmother in search of the medallion, and now they wanted it back.